The simplest grid method you can use is the T method or even the viewfinder. You're going to see a box of 4. And if you position the T directly in the center of your character, you should have a good observation of where each piece fits on that small little 4 grid. Now this is the color, and I wanted to demonstrate a turnaround. Today we're working with Conté of Paris charcoal sticks, or Conté sticks, I'm sorry. And I'm testing out the materials here, which is always good to see what your value scales are going to be with any material you have. I know you all had color Conté crayons, which is great. I only have the neutral colors, the sanguine, the black and the white, and I'm testing out to see how they blend. I'm using a gradient for each, and then I'm gonna build Stitch with these characters. Now I wanted to do the T method here just so I can have a decent proportion to start with. I do end up using the units of his head as a measurement, so I put 2 heads and then it's like half for his feet. But I'm still following my idea of the T method with my pencil, which I'm going to show you when I start building the T method. Now in this case, you have the option of draw either the one on the left or the one on the right. I will from now on make sure I always have prints so it's not just a visual screen. But here's me building the T method. Always draw as big as your hands. As you see, my hand will fit in that space that I'm drawing the box in. The T method, I always just use a ruler and then I eyeball the center and then I measure with my fingers. As you see, I'm pinching it there to see if it'll fit. I'm not being as super precise. It may look like I am, but I'm just guessing. And you can see I'm doing the pinching method to see how many heads I believe will fit in the character in total. Having a form of unit of measurement helps, so this way you're not making it overly big or overly small. In this case, we know we're going to fit it directly in the T method, or no smaller than our hands. Now here I'm going with the gesture drawing, which is always just lines and circles to capture the position of the character, the pose, the gesture, the look of the character. And as you see, I'm trying to imagine it in a box. I know it's a circle, but if it was a box, how would it be represented? So for observational point of view, I put the box in front of Stitch, and now you see I move it away. So it shows me that it's actually, in real life, it would be 2-point perspective because he's turned sideways. You see I draw a box on the floor and then I do an X. That is to find the center of that box. It doesn't matter if it's on the floor or if it's just flat facing forward. You see I'm showing you a folded piece of Post-it note, and it makes an invisible T. So if I wanted to draw a Stitch that small, I could. But the other reason I'm showing you this is because if you use the box method, you can make even smaller units within that box. So here's me now with the invisible T. Both sides are folded, and I'm just going to show you how I break down. X marks the spot on the Post-it. This is the bigger half. And then I slowly go to smaller and smaller units. Without having to figure out where the center is, I'm able to find it with X marks the spot. So I'm able to make it smaller and smaller. Now this is something you're going to use later on if you're doing buildings or something, but it's also useful if you have circles and shapes that you want to just be precise in what the center of it is. So I use it as my guide to help me find the center of Stitch's face, and then you'll see I'll eventually do a curve for it. Now, as you can see, I'm only using boxes and circles and lines to help me build the Stitch the way I believe I'm seeing it. We all see the world differently, and sometimes there's techniques that help us improve what we are seeing. So I'm not asking for perfection, just try to do the gestures, try to build a box, try to use the T method, and then try to shade as best as possible now that we've practiced on shading. Usually once you have a guide, you're able to go in more detail with your colors or your value scale. And that's what I'm trying to show you guys so that you can improve your art skills. Now, although I use a circle for his head, the circle is divided from his ears the base of his ears to the opposite side. So that would be where I would say his circle cuts in half, and the top of his eyes are above, and everything below is for his mouth region. Now I used the T method, and I figured that on top of his head is where that T is positioning the triangle of his head, the little hair piece that he has up there. And then I slowly start building what I believe is the position of the eyes. And I think I made this a little bit more frontal, even though you saw in the beginning I made the side of the circle for his head, but I totally ignored it and made it either smaller or made the ears closer. So again, it happens. I could always erase and adjust, but as you see, eventually I slowly move on. Now I drew his body and it does feel too long, so at a certain point I start measuring to see if I can fix it. And I think I get closer to it by the end. Again, his hands are just gesture lines of a circle and one line, or I think there's two lines there. So he's very tall for this page, and if I was doing the post-it note, he would be very small, but the T is exactly the same. It is my guide to help me position where his body part is supposed to be. Now you see I'm ghost lining the opposite side of his arm and his fingers because I'm trying to figure out if I should put it there or if it needs to be changed. Now overlapping is when one thing covers something else. So his hand is covering his face on the right, and his hand on the left side is actually forward. His arm is a little bit behind. So that's also overlapping. There are a lot of overlapping in his foot area, especially with his toes. And it takes time to notice where everything starts and stops. But again, with just circles, you can start finding the position. Now, it was fun to work with these Conté crayons because I didn't have to worry about matching the exact color. I did use subtractive drawing, you might have missed it, for his eyes. So this way I can get around his eyes, the rim, the shape, before I put the color in. So subtractive drawing already came to be useful in this second project. Now I let you guys choose whichever color you wanted to use from your color set, which a lot of fun colors came out of it. But the main point is try to build up the characters with your gestures, some shapes, and try to get as close to proportion, height, width, and depth as you think you are seeing within the picture or the screen or the toy if you had it on your desk. Another technique I wanted to show you is even if I didn't have the toy in front of me, I can do horizontal lines from the tip of his ears or the base of his foot or where his armpit meets, and I can draw another object based on what I already have established. So I'm trying to do my own turnaround of Stitch by drawing him sideways now based on where his fingers are actually positioned. So you see all the horizontal lines help me match. And again, I start looking at the actual toy because I did turn it around to see what patterns he had back there. Now again, it's not perfect. It was just for fun, but I hope you practice.